Hey y'all, Zelda here. I am here with a week ahead tarot video. I am going to show you three different crystal skulls, and you're going to pick the one that resonates most with you. If you have a hard time deciding, feel free to kind of follow like your first instinct. First thought, best thought is sometimes what is thought of in these instances is it's okay to be building up trust with yourself. But picking one can be a great way to find out if it resonates. And this is a way that you get to kind of participate in the divination process or the psychomancy process. So, before we get started with the different skulls, I just want to tell you what the three different decks that I'm going to be using are. The first deck is the Prairie Majesty Oracle deck. The second one is the Tarot deck, which is the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot. And then the third deck is the Dirt Gems Plant Oracle deck. And I will be reading the excerpt from the Dirt Gems Guidebook because I really love, there are a few decks where I just really love the guidebooks as almost like a form of bibliomancy as well, just like sharing that extra wisdom. And that is definitely one of them. So let me show you the three different skull options. So the first skull option is Herbie. Herbie is a Himalayan quartz with chlorite skull, unknown carver, and Herbie is going to be pile number 1. Pile number 2 is going to be Ardas. Ardas is this Himalayan, or not Himalayan, citrine skull, Brazilian citrine, master carved by Leandro de Souza. So if Ardas is speaking to you, this is pile number 2. Pile number 3 is this rhodochrosite skull, also an unknown carver. And her name is Grandma Rowe. She kind of has a little heart in her eye. I love these like partial raw parts. So that is pile number 3. So you will follow the timestamps in the description to jump ahead to the reading of your choice. If you would like to sit and ground yourself a little bit, that's what I'm going to be doing now. And if that's not something that you would like and you'd just like to get to the reading already, then you can skip ahead now. If you are staying, feel free to get yourself settled, maybe getting a journal or some water. I'm spritzing this golden sphinx mist, but you could light a candle or some incense to be ready to receive. Calling upon my own and everybody who is watching this video, everyone's guides, ancestors, teams, and lineages, inviting in supports in this and every timeline. Allowing each and every person watching this to utilize their own sacred power of discernment to know which messages are meant for them and which can be left behind. Okay. Let's start with pile number 1. Pile number 1, you chose Herbie. Herbie is a tree spirit, like a dryad, who is connected to the spirit of cottonwood trees. So let's see what messages Herbie is sharing with us this week. The Prairie Majesty Oracle is hold. What riches do I carry within? Prairie soil. The tarot card is the 10 of Wands. And the Dirt Gems Oracle is Valerian. These messages together really feel like they are speaking to a bit of like an energy level transition in some ways, like thinking of the soil and this seasonal transition that at least those of us in the northern hemisphere are going through at this point. There is this shedding of leaves, and like the daylight is getting shorter, the nights feel like they're extending, getting chillier, and it just feels like this quality of like pulling or retracting some of your energetic tentacles back into yourself, almost like seeing like that curling spiral tongue of the fiddlehead fern, kind of like rolling those resources back up into self. And the 10 of Wands really feels like it speaks to reaching kind of the end of a cycle or a transition, around passion or purpose, career or inspiration, where there's kind of like, there is some completion, but sometimes it's even a completion of like being tired around something and needing a refresh, or needing to really take some time to rest and really withdraw a little bit. I love this kind of like sitting on beneath these kind of like browning leaves, where there's just like this little, looks like a catnap to me, but it's a fox. And, there's an aspect of like one of the wands being partially in the water. And I just feel this sense of, as you kind of withdraw and assess what you're needing and lean into some rest and recuperation, what are you noticing about like which projects are continuing to fulfill you and which ones are maybe not anymore? And how can you allow yourself to like prune away? And in doing that, this question of hold, like what riches do I carry within? It feels like an invitation to come towards this from a place of like assessing what you have and not like what you lack, right? Not like striving for something external, but really assessing internal and like what feels complementary. What riches do you carry within? What do you have to offer? What do you have to bring forth as you kind of come inwards? This feels like entering the cocoon in many ways, like completing this cycle and like entering that kind of cocoon. And Valerian, from what I know about Valerian, and we'll read the Dirt Gems Oracle as well, that it is an herb that is taken oftentimes to kind of like relax and renourish the nervous system, and is like sleep promoting. I see a lot of these blues and, the herb itself, a lot of, bed and, that kind of like dreamier, like it almost feels like this dreamlike quality. Let's read the, oh my gosh, I opened directly to the page. That's always fun when that happens. So again, this is from the Dirt Gems Oracle book, which I love. Valeriana officinalis, swampy dreamer. Valerian is the dank musk of deep sleep, wandering the caves and recesses of the dream world, the starry abyss of the mind. Valerian takes us to the center of the world, the heart of the matter, to our very core. For some, Valerian is a relaxing, melting surrender. For others, the experience is hot, agitated, and stimulating. Perhaps this paradoxical presentation has to do with your relationship to these underground, underbelly places. Valerian taps into the currents in our body that regulate heat, both in physical temperature and in energetic states like anger, irritation, and unresolved negativity. Valerian may cause the heat to rise and surface, making it possible to dissipate and resolve as steam does. Valerian may also lead you into the damp and sputtering places that need heat to come into our that need heat to come ignite our smoldering debris into action. For those that are lacking the depth of sleep to integrate daily experiences and process memory, valerian is a true aid. But engage this powerful plant with caution, as they may request that you first burn it all down, finding this sleep through a startling release with sweats and shakes. For some, valerian can cause great discomfort, and a relationship with valerian must begin on the most subtle level. We cannot always dive headlong into our challenges or areas of growth. We must court them, whisper, guide, and coax. Valerian offers us a honeyed starting line with their fan of sweet white flowers. Approach softly, breathe in, and begin. So I love this swampy heat, like this merging of wet and heat, because it does feel like the Ten of Wands can have like a burnt out quality. And so if that is something you are experiencing, the medicine feels like this water here to balance and this grounding on the earth. And there's this aspect that we can't like push the flame forward again and again. The creative process in and of itself, like the birthing process, perhaps, right, is something where we have a gestation period and, have a seed that is planted, that is chosen to be nourished, and that becomes something, right, that is then ushered in. And that all of these different phases of growth, including the kind of completion of that cycle so it can be begun again, is a really key part of like being in cyclical nature. And this aspect of being at this kind of end of a cycle can sometimes be really realizing like some exhaustion or some things that aren't working or some ways that you're bogged down in that kind of swamp. This can feel like an aspect of like what parts of you are needing some winter hibernation or some like seasonal transitional space where you're actually not called to be as in the spotlight, is what I'm seeing, like wanting to be out of the spotlight and get to kind of just rest with yourself. It feels like this holding pattern, right? That feels also like the medicine of how can you also call upon maybe the chrysalis, which is what I call the card of the hanged man in the tarot. And that there's this aspect of re-entering and starting to kind of deconstruct some of the structures that are going to be transformed, and just allowing and being present with that, whether or not that's discomfort. And so the Ten of Wands can be a like almost like a signal that this is a necessary process that is happening. And that doesn't always have to be drastic. I really like what the Guidebook said. What stuck out was this aspect of knowing what's necessary for you. That like sometimes when we take this process, we're like, this is great, I'm ready to jump into another cycle. And sometimes we're like, oh, there's some things that need to be tweaked, or I'm not sure when I'll have enough energy. And the invitation is to take that inner assessment and to replenish your own resources. And rest feels like a really deep part of that, like really committing to that like quiet dream space, maybe connecting to practices that are internal and connect to earth-based type of spirit, in terms of like I'm just connecting with Herbie a little bit, and connecting with like trees and the cycles of trees around you, or plants, or maybe that is connecting to valerian even on a very subtle level. Like, not, this is never a recommendation to go get herbs and take them internally based on this. If you don't know your constitution, working with an herbalist is absolutely recommended. Even with certain teas can be incredibly potent. So this is just an invitation that this is a teacher, like a spirit teacher, that is offering to come into your field of awareness and work with you, at least on that subtle level. I'm seeing like this large cottonwood tree that Herbie's showing me this image of, like a time lapse where the leaves are falling and then they form this like blanket over the root system. And that this feels like part of the container, right? Is like pulling over the blanket of kind of like detritus, or like the like comforter of this shell that is going to be moved away, but is right now like a protective film, almost like a scab, right? Like this kind of like protective film or layer that is like a buffer in some way. And so getting curious about like what are these places, these containers that create that layer or that ability to turn inside to yourself is feeling like the image that Herbie is showing. Otherwise, Herbie just feels like very quiet, right? This is kind of like inviting that quiet inward gaze, the soil, feeling grounded, balancing out some of that, any areas of burnout, really tending to those with true curiosity and compassion for yourself. Okay, group one. I think that is all for you this week. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I really appreciate it. If you'd like to connect with your own companion or see more about some of the things that I do, you're welcome to visit my website. I also have some other things like aura mists that I make with flower essences available. So if any of that is calling to you, you can find that in the description. Otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you next week at the week ahead. Up next, we have group two. Group two, you chose Ardas. Let's see what cards Ardas chose for you. So, the Prairie Majesty Oracle is glitter. What gift awaits? The cottonwood. Very interesting in some ways because the last pile was actually a cottonwood spirit, but this one has the message of the cottonwood. So very interesting that they're kind of not matched up this week. So maybe some overlapping messages. Who knows? The tarot card is the Three of Cups. And the Dirt Gems Oracle is Figwort. So Ardas is a guide, and I'm telling you this because I was feeling into whether this feels significant to share, and it does feel significant for context. That Ardas, as you can see from the carving, the jaw of this carving was damaged and repaired by the carver, by Leandro de Sosa. And one of the things that was interesting about this guide is that happened before I received this guide. And this guide came to me and has their jaw like wired shut almost, and really like almost speaks like kind of telepathically, like internally, and really talks about this not needing to let everything come externally and learning how to be in like devoted relationship with spirit in a very non-performative way, like de-centering the performance in the process of prayer. And this feels really helpful in combination in some ways because this Three of Cups feels like being in community, but not only community with other people, other incarnate forms, but with spirit and with lineage and with nature, with all animate or alive beings in the world. And this feels kind of playful in a way, but like dynamic, right? There's a dynamicism to it. And because of this, I don't know, lack of performativity or that encouragement, it also is interesting because they do feel like really external oriented. Like the cottonwood, I can feel that like flowing around, and that in the Three of Cups, there can feel like this like participatory energy, like how my skin is in relationship to the inside and the outside of my body. And so this aspect to being in like active relationship, but that there is some aspect of how that relates back to like the quietness of that, or that like maybe that doesn't look exactly how you expect it to or how you want it to. And so like a question that I would have of this is with like glitter or glimmer is not just what gift awaits, but where are your like where are you spreading expansively or receiving that way with like this thousand like tiny pieces effect? And what I mean by that is like when I think of glimmer, it's like this all over kind of like hazy effect that like draws attention to different things, or it's like those fields, like the billows of the cottonwood flowing through, and that it feels like taking in like a panoramic or a wide perspective versus focusing on one next thing, right? And that being able to soften your experience can also allow your attention to not be as fixated on something. For instance, like on whether things are right or wrong. Like this feels like expansive beyond binary or beyond all or nothing, right or wrong thinking. What gift awaits when your attention can hop from place to place, can be drawn where you are drawn. Let's read the Dirt Gems Oracle and see maybe what other aspects are feeling helpful. Fig wort. $146. Figwort, the compass. If you have met Figwort, you know. Elegant Figwort stands up tall and takes no nonsense. Figwort is your stern auntie who is the kindest person in the room, but who does not coddle or cater. This unwavering ally will set you on the course you were meant for, but may not have known you were already on with their deep commitment to what is good and just. Figwort will course through the entirety of you and shake off the chaff. Figwort will discipline your whole organism, not for discipline's sake, but to cut through to the core of your integrity. Figwort is understated beauty. They are the magnetic center drawing you near and looking you squarely in the face. Figwort is not perfume and roses. Figwort is the bitter brew that always makes you feel better. If you are looking for a tough love kind of guidance, for an ally to help you cut to the heart of the matter and make bold, clear choices, Figwort is already by your side. Smell the musky waft of figwort and remember what the most basic, stripped down, and true version of yourself is like. Look that self in the face, and you will see figwort in the shadows of your eyes, smiling with a hand on your shoulder. This feels like a willingness to see the gift in challenging teachers, that there is a togetherness of learning through challenging lessons in life. And this feels very like this not needing to perform is like sometimes our learning experiences are really messy. They are. They're really not Instagrammable. They're not pithy. You can't like summarize them. They're not even something that you can do a whole lot with after, but they're still really sacred and valuable. And they're still an offering from your guides, from the universe to learn, depending on what your opinion is or what your viewpoint. This is one perspective or one way of relating to it. And so the invitation feels like, how can you approach your challenges right now, even the messy ones, with this idea that the universe is in direct and supportive relationship with you at all times, and that by quieting and looking for the gift in different things and allowing your awareness to like take in and receive that like your own kind of like commitment to that path is its own kind of action, like healing action, or its own kind of medicine for you. This is part of how we can participate in our own growth process. Okay. I hope that that was supportive for you. I always enjoy spending this time. If you would like to check out anything else about me or have any questions, you can feel free to ask them in the comments or send me a DM or email. You can also visit my website if you are curious about any of the things that I offer, or connecting with your own guide, that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I will see you next week for the week ahead. Up next, we have group 3. You chose Grandma Row. Let's see what cards she chose. The Prairie Majesty Oracle is Jump. The Grasshopper, Where am I ready to leap forward? The Empress, and Damiana. Grandma Row is another plant spirit. And it's interesting because what I'm receiving from these different messages right now is this aspect of this place of where am I ready to leap forward, being like, not just where am I longing to move forward, but like, where am I truly ready? And when I think of taking a jump, there's this quality of being able to have like a stable base to leap off from. And that like the first part of a jump, if you think of it, is like this like gathering of energy and of like resources, right? The kind of like bending and crouching is the actual preparatory part of a jump. And it allows us to have a springboard to kind of like leap off from where we've kind of like gathered and are moving forth with that energy. And that is going to be drastically different based on like the readiness is going to feel different in different areas. And this Empress card really feels like being able to kind of gather and find that sense of readiness also is a willingness to recognize areas that are good enough, that are doing really well, to celebrate and receive goodness and grounding and abundance and pleasure in different areas. And when we can steep in that, when we can settle in that, it can be a springboard for us to be able to know that we can grow there, that we can receive, that we're ready to kind of take that leap and be ready to receive. I see with this Damiana, like this breath of fresh air almost, and like opening in the window and like almost a perspective shift of sorts to maybe exploring what it means to take that leap or what it means to be ready. What would it be like to ask yourself, instead of like, where do you want to go? Like what step do you truly feel ready for next? Like, what, if you were picking up your foot, where would it naturally go down, right? In the direction that you're going. And then allowing that jump to kind of emerge from there, but that there's this kind of assessment of like good enoughness, of like non-judgmental, right? This feels like the monochromatic quality of this feels very like an encouragement of neutrality, of like not being colored by preference or like what your ego wants you to do next. Let's read the book for Damiana. Damiana, Tingle Maker. Damiana is a romantic. Damiana sees us in our most intimate moments. We smell their perfume, the call to sensuality and slow play. Damiana is expansive and cellular. They elongate the quiet in us until the gasp, scream, moan, whisper must come out. Damiana slows so that building, lengthening, and softening can happen. Damiana is a dream traveler, friend of Mugwort. They help you integrate the disparate parts of your life by expanding your memory, deepening your dream state, and carrying these dreams to your memory in the morning. If you find your days running faster than you can keep up with, ask Damiana to join the race, and they will set your pace at a meaningful and luxurious gait. Damiana is your friend if you live in your head. They bring both energy and spirit down into your pelvis, into the earth. Damiana will allow the femme energy to rise and spread. They hold your center in the root and base of your body so that you can open, stretch out, lean into things, yet not feel untethered. Damiana has an affinity with the pituitary gland. When invited in, they allow the messaging throughout your body to happen more clearly. Damiana is our cable girl. Damiana lubricates and tones the organs of your pelvis, allowing for more movement, more creativity, and more connection. The pelvis, the bowl of our body, is where all the blood and energy needs to pass through as it circulates. If unattended to or out of balance, this is the place where congestion and stagnancy can occur. Damiana says, slide down into the languid and divine. Invite this friend in and sleep deeply, dream, touch. Restore overacted, depleted, or stuck parts of yourself and invite them to play. This feels like the aspect that is connected that I'm seeing is this gathering of the energy to be able to leap forward, is that grounding down. It's like the idea of root to rise, right? Rooting down into the earth to be able to rise up. And this feels like a message of that, of like, how do we gather some of those more luxurious pacing or the ability to receive and allow that to inform us of readiness and allow that to be a judge of what pace is necessary. If the answer to where am I ready to leap forward is around my ability to be patient and develop self-care practices, I want to invite that, like, the Empress is a really nourishing receiver. Wants you to know that, as Lindsay Mack says about the Empress, that receiving is your birthright. This is about the fact that there is enough in this world for everyone, that this is not a revolutionary or a debatable theory. It is a reality that we live in a world that has enough and that has a fundamental quality of ability to kind of distribute, and that access to that is possible. And that operating as if that is not possible creates ways of acting that are unaligned with the reality that we want to live in, but also with like the reality that we do live in, right? This is like a scarcity mindset of there's not enough creates this kind of paradigm that is misaligned with the abundance that is all around us, actually, like the earthly abundance. And I'm not speaking about money either, like of energy and time and resources and care and love, sense of worth. And so really like orienting that this feels like this nourishment and like this nourishing quality, not a striving towards something that we like cognitively want to draw in. Like this isn't a power forward type of feeling, even though it has that like gathering of energy to spring forward. Grandma Rowe also is talking about the tension between um, inviting parts that are feeling challenged in and kind of loving them up and being ready to kind of gather their resources. She's showing me this image of someone kind of tugging around their shadow. This is like an image that I associate with the shadow, or doing shadow work, which is very like catchy term right now. It's this idea that we are expending psychic energy on repressing certain parts of self, and that informs in a way that is less aligned generally our actions externally to avoid being something that we have deemed as bad or wrong, or a part of ourself that we have isolated and made not okay. And by reclaiming that part, inviting it back in, this is not an invitation to act fully out of alignment with your values. This is an invitation actually to drop the kind of paradigm of right and wrong and self and other, and invite that wounded part back in and give it some love and care and affection. And that actually allows us to reallocate that part's energy to not being avoidant of being that, but to actually redirect towards what do you want and what can that part support you with? What's the wisdom of that part? And it also reclaims that psychic energy to give you more resources. And so sometimes in doing this work of like, where am I ready to leap forward, requires a little bit of like to go forward, to go back, right? To go up, we go down. And so there's this kind of balancing or like alchemical process. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in the kind of shadow invitation that Grandma Rowe is holding. Okay. Thank you so much, Group 3. I really appreciate you. I love spending this time with you each week. In the future, I'm probably going to be posting these on Monday moving forward because that works best for my schedule, although it still might be Sunday, Monday some weeks. If you have a preference, you can let me know in the comments, or you can let me know privately if that works better for you. To learn more about what I offer, connect with your own guides, get an Oramus, that kind of stuff, you can visit my website. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next week for the week ahead. Bye.